A very good morning to you, Lagos, and thank you very much for staying with us on Smooth 98.1. Time for our analysis of our newspaper stories this morning inside of Freshly Pressed 981. You can send us messages through WhatsApp on 0809 and join us on YouTube where we're streaming live. Just type in the search box Smooth 981 FM Lagos and please leave a comment in the comment section. And joining us this morning are analysts at CCOG Lagos. That's Mr. Ireti Bakare-Yusuf. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. And the corporate the corporate MC. Today is Nwaji Day Lagos. So
yes, it
is.
is.
Waji's birthday. Happy birthday,
birthday.
Waji. Happy
Yes, it
birthday.
is.
The
And-
corporate MC, go over to his handle, wish him happy birthday.
And he
Yes,
brought
please.
scones.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
You have to let the world know.
Good morning, Lagos.
Good morning to you, Waji.
Excellent stuff. So as we delve into this freshly pressed.
We'll start with this first story from Guardian newspaper. How union group a person who brought this forward was the G. He said that INEC missed or
Well, yes, this is interesting because most of us don't know, or at least most people would know that INEC does have electronic collation, which is
Yes.
good. And INEC is saying, look, what he's talking to nonsense. That in addition to the e-portal, that they also have the manual one, and everything is actually what's the word?
Cross-referenced,
Compared. Thank
yes.
you, cross-referenced. And also in addition to that, this is a quote here from INEC where they said, as part of the efforts to engender transparency in the electoral process, the Commission introduced Form EC60E, whatever that means, also known as the People's Results Sheet, which helped apparently in the Anambra State elections. So basically what INEC is saying is, look, we have the backup to the backup to the backup, and you've not got much to worry about. Do we have much to worry about? I don't know. I think there's going to be lots of scaremongering at a time like this. A lot of the scaremongering will be disguised as warnings, but they're more alarmist than warnings, because he didn't say a great deal. He actually went on the Adeoju guy, sorry, whose grammar we really couldn't read. Actually, Folu and I had a bit of problem with that.
It was a little bit of a struggle.
It was a bit of a struggle, yes. But he also mentioned something to do with Osun State. Where is it? Right, this is for fairness. I must read this quote. He said, we know for a fact that the correct system at INEC is that the commissioner shared the e-collation portal three states per commissioner. This is how ... This is how he speaks, by the way. Was able to view election results, collation in real time, and diverge the same to her accomplices in APC to help ensure that Osun State governorship
Allegations.
was inconclusive. I have no idea what language he was speaking there, but I had to be fair, don't we? I have to read out his
to
quote
mention that.
as well as read INEC's quote. So that's it. So INEC has electronic. They said they've got the backup to the backup. We hope they do.
Yeah,
Yes,
let's see
we
how
do
that
hope.
goes. Let's see how it goes.
Thank you, Mr. Ireti, for that one. Moving on to a New Telegraph newspaper for this next story. DPR to marketers, Hoard fuel at Yuletide, risk 6 months suspension. It's a warning that's coming from the Department of Petroleum Resources yesterday. They said that marketers who hoard or divert petroleum products in the country now risk a suspension of their filling stations for at least 6 months. They declared that the sanction was among measures directed by the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Dr. Ibe Kachku, as the nation approached Yuletide season. Nwaji, do you see this as timely, or do you think there's some suspicion that something like this could happen in recent times?
Which will happen, the fine, or people are going to hoard?
I mean, people hoarding fuel.
Oh, no, that's a standard.
Standard.
Yeah, standard is going to hoard. And people need to understand the reasons why people hoard, why the marketers hoard. They hoard closer to the Christmas season to put pressure on the federal government to pay them their subsidies, arrears, so that they can also jollificate during the Christmas period and enjoy themselves and, launch new cars and buy new homes and et cetera, and things of that nature. But the challenge with this is that people always like to get into these very philosophical debates about who is correct in the situation. Fine, the marketers may have some perspectives to it regarding that they are important consumers of these particular products, like you and I, Valentine,
Yes.
suffer because we now have to sit in long queues and go through excruciating put petrol in our cars. Now, what DPR is trying to philosophical debate. I like the boldness that DPR is taking punitive measures in place because it kind of now keeps them on their toes, that they cannot necessarily just complete lack of empathy or the zealousness to just do whatever they want. They think it through. But at the same time, the larger conversation of subsidy we avoid this is to begin with.
Thank you very much, Waji.
It's me.
Well,
Well, allow me to
education
finish
should,
it.
and that's something that we keep talking about, especially coming up to the next few years.
No. You've all gone. This is my
Mr.
story.
I
No,
actually agree with you.
yeah, I do come in, my My point here is you can't have the same candidates that comes up every 4 years and we're supposed to get excited because they can speak English like Miseriti. Sorry, no. What I want is a proper opposition party, somebody that speaks for the people. So if APC or Ambode, whoever the current governor becomes or whatever, says, look, this is what we're going to do for the people, I want him to come out and say, actually, you know what, this is not going to work for the people. This is the counter project. This is what we suggest. This is the counter policy. He doesn't allow me to finish this. I really feel passionate about Jimmy Agbaje because I'm bored. I'm so bored with his name. I can't even begin. But unfortunately, I'm going to let YJ speak, then I'll speak about the wonderful woman that he's
Yes, which was the focus. But we got sidetracked.
I'm so
I was just
bored
trying
with
to say
him.
that
Go
I agree
on.
with you that those components that people keep placing on Jimmy Agbaje should not be enough to say that he's a viable candidate.
Yes.
Why not?
Because that's not leadership.
It's not.
They're two very distinct things. Yes, you have the carriage and the countenance and the charisma and everything else, and those are very admirable things. And I don't doubt that Jimmy Agbaje does have fantastic leadership qualities, but I think to Ms. Ireti's point is that it should be demonstrated more so that
Throughout the
period. So
the
yeah,
period,
that's what I'm
yes.
saying.
His intention wasn't to run. PDP begged him.
So what? We don't care.
That's how we got our
We
former
actually
president. I'm
no,
just pointing
actually,
out.
we don't care what his intentions are. No, we must focus on what his intentions
for fair
are.
hearing,
No,
I have to
he's
put
been
that
around
out
for
there as
no.
well.
This is his no. That is not fair, and I'll tell you why that's not fair. If we're really going to debate the fact of the matter is whether it was your chairman that asked you, whether it was God that sent you a message in your sleep. I don't care. It doesn't matter. What does matter is that every time we come, right, you get us excited. We think somebody's coming. We make an effort to read and listen to you, and then as soon as you lose, you go away, and we don't matter.
Sad.
No, I'm sick. He's the
Okay, but
typical
talking about his
user.
running mate,
He's the
so we-
typical
so we can-
user.
So we can move on.
Haleemat.
Right, Haleemat. So we've got
Yes.
this wonderful professional called Haleemat Busari, who went to MG, who apparently they believe joining with Jimmy Agbaje is going to make them a formidable. I don't know.
You
Yeah,
said,
they're going to
MG
make them.
Methodist
Yeah,
Girls High
that's
School.
what I said. Most Lagosians know where MG
Yeah, well,
is.
for purpose of
Some people
everybody
just showed
else.
up in Lagos.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, they arrived.
Methodist
They're
Girls
listening
High
to.
School.
Yeah. Anyway, she went to MG, yeah. So she's also on the board of formerly Zain, which is now Airtel. She's on the board of First Bank. Furthermore, she's a lawyer, etc., etc. She's a child of Lagos State. She's actually a descendant or princess, as they write it, of the Kosoko family, which is actually very important. Okay. So they believe, joined with Jimmy Agbaje, this is going to make them a formidable team. I hope so. I'm excited that he's got a female running mate.
Yes.
We are waiting to see what running mate Sanwo-Olu is going to have, and he better not be having a male running mate. I'm sending a message to him now. Well, we don't. It's not been
We're going to move on
confirmed.
to the next story now.
Let's move on very quickly to this one from Vanguard newspaper. Tremor hits Maitama again in
Oh,
Abuja,
gosh.
measuring 3.0. So another round of tremor was experienced yesterday, and it seems like the Nigerian Geological Survey Agency made this known, and after receiving distress calls, they said the calls came in at about 12:45 p.m. and they swooped into action according to this report, and technical team was immediately dispatched to take action on this. Waji, what are your thoughts on this story?
This is very, it's an important story. I think we've covered it. This is probably the third time that I'm actually taking this particular story with regards to earthquakes in Abuja. And, I always try to get excited when the NGSA, which is the Nigerian Geological Survey Authority, comes in to now talk about these things are happening. But there's something that bothered me in the statement, which now kind of lets me know about the factors in this country that don't allow us to progress. There's a statement in this article that says the NGSA has also assured residents that Abuja, well, the grammar's a bit incorrect, so forgive me, that Abuja do not have a problem of earthquake.
Yeah, but it's happening.
So I don't know why you're saying that, this level of misdirection. I don't know if people have been watching too much Trump to actually come out and say those kind of things, but why report this is going to be the third or fourth time that you're reporting tremors and earthquakes in those particular regions. Yes, on the Richter scale, they may not be high. They're ranging somewhere between 3.0 and 3.5, but they're there. So why don't you get in front of the story and talk about the preventive things that you can do, specifically with regards to building materials, to make sure you strengthen buildings so that they don't collapse, making sure you have stronger foundations, talking people through evacuation plans, or better yet, things they need to do in the form of an earthquake, like go into open areas or go into a bathtub and things of that nature. Do not necessarily ride on this perspective that, oh, it's not happening or it's not that serious. It is actually that serious. So can we begin to focus on the actual things environmentally that we need to do within the country? Stop drilling boreholes on earth plates that now begin to make the earth shake, and just get more responsible with our environment.
Thank you very much for that, YG. Let's go over to some of the messages. Mr. Ireti is being quoted up and down Twitter and Instagram and everywhere right now. Allison says, what? Mr. Ireti, Agbaje is a leap year we see every 4 years. Wow, I fell off my chair while I was creaming my body, says Ali from Papa. Thank you. Well, Bankole gives us another fantastic quote. He says, I spent money on my accent. Funniest thing I've heard this week. Oh dear, oh dear. We do have to give these people opportunities. We've got Bami Dele from Lagos who says, Tremor should shake those places where the looters live, please.
Exactly.
Guys,
Shake.
what is going on this Friday?
It's a feel-good Friday.
Libby from Festac Town says, Jimmy chose Haleemat as a running mate. It's a welcome development. He's got every right to run, whether it's every 4 years or not. After all, that is how Buhari does. That's how Buhari did, and then eventually won. He says, while we've got this in from Shegun, who says, land use saga, Jimmy was quiet. Lagos environment, Jimmy was quiet. Traffic saga, Jimmy
Comatose.
was quiet. Election time, Jimmy is noisy.
Ooh, he suddenly speaks.
Wow, guys.
Yes.
No love out here. I don't understand. Chikajina says, Mr. Ireti, so you can chastise Agbaje and rain praises on the running mate because she's female. And if I may ask, between 2003 and 2015, that Buhari contested the presidential election after losing, did he ever speak up? And yet you campaigned for him. Interesting.
I won't
But,
respond
yes,
to that
we don't
right
have
now.
time
We
for
don't
that,
have time.
but, thank
Hit
you
me
for
on
these comments.
what's that thing? Twitter.
Yes.
Yes.
And let's move on now and talk about what is going on in APC from the Punch newspaper. Oshiomhole, APC has lost 5 million voters, says Okorocha, that's Imo State governor, alleging that the antics of the chairman Adams Oshiomhole has caused a number of issues. So let me go straight to you for this one.
I'm laughing with this because this story is quite funny. So Okorocha is basically saying, I mean, it's a bit like going to daddy and reporting to daddy. That's what's happened here. So Okorocha has gone to report to Buhari and say, look, I think we need to get rid of this chairman. I don't think he knows what he's doing. He messed up the primaries. We've lost over 5 million votes. How did he come to that number? Does anybody know? If anybody knows, please send us a message. Because I don't know how he came up with that figure, but he said, we've lost 5 million voters due to Oshiomhole's high-handedness. Well, I don't know. Those of us on the outside, okay, fine. We know the APC primaries, especially as the one in one of the ones in the north where they almost missed the deadline. That was it was somewhat messy, etc., etc. And perhaps it's happened in other parts of the country. But I would have thought Oshiomhole was working really, really hard. Maybe it's just optics. Anyway, one of the quotes I like here is Okorocha said, he urged the party chairman, quote, the issue of treating court order as tissue papers must stop. It doesn't reflect the image of our party. Well, since when do our lawmakers take court orders seriously? Because I don't know why he's picking out Oshiomhole, and he says he has to respect the rule of the law, respect court orders, do the right thing, obey court orders where applicable, and not turn himself into INEC. Ouch. I wonder I think there's a lot more to this story. I wonder if they have, as you say, beef from before. What's bringing up all of this? I don't know. He also said here, this is Okorocha, he's just talking. He says, he cannot be standing on hope Uzondima because that man did not win election. You cannot compare somebody who won 265,000 votes with somebody who won 7,000 votes. Doesn't like him. Can I just say that in short? I don't like you.
Thank you very much for that, Mr. Ireti. Let's keep it moving. Waji, coming to you for this next story from the Daily Times. Biafra, lawyer seeks Senator Abaribe, Fani-Kayode and others prosecution over Kanu's escape. Some of you may have been wondering if this was going to happen. Well, finally it's happened. So an Abuja legal practitioner, one Isaiah Agidi Ayubu on Wednesday, asked the Federal High Court to hold that Senator Abaribe, Fani-Kayode, and others responsible for the disappearance of the leader of IPOB, Kanu, from the country. The court has been asked for an order to compel the DSS and Nigerian police to arrest and prosecute the senator, also Fani-Kayode, Ifeanyi Ejiofor, Tochukwu Uchendu, Emmanuel Shalobed, Emmanuel Kanu, and Uchechi Kanu for unlawfully aiding the escape of Kanu from the country. Also bearing in mind that a number of them had accused the Nigerian army of the abduction, the arrest, and assassination of Kanu. Your thoughts on this?
All right, so I'm just a little bit confused. So the issue here is that because Kanu has now emerged after almost a year of just being quiet,
Yes.
the prosecutor and plaintiff is now, is now accusing his camp of making him escape. I just want to be clear.
Yes,
on
because
that.
there were also sureties for him. Don't forget.
No, I
And
understand
he
that.
skipped
Yeah.
bail.
So the okay, so the issue
So
is
they're
that
saying, he
that
skipped
he has
bail. He fled the country. He's
Okay.
defied court orders and was defying them while he was around. So why has no one taken it up? And so that's why this legal counsel has taken it up to say, well, something should be done. You should prosecute.
Okay,
And you
this-
should hold them responsible.
and this is on behalf of the federal government.
It's
That
on
this guy-
behalf of himself
Of
and the people.
himself.
I'm not really sure.
Okay, that's why I was a
Very
bit
good,
confused because
yes.
I was just trying to understand. You see, this Nnamdi Kanu thing has been going on for too long, and I'm really sorry. I'm probably going to get in trouble, but it's my birthday. I really don't care.
Woohoo!
This guy needs to just go away. I think he's becoming an absolute thorn in the side of every single person of sensibility in this country, and he is adding absolutely no value.
Zero.
From an individual historically that comes from that region of Nigeria that speaks of a Biafra, from family that lived through Biafra. Nnamdi Kanu, I'm sorry, you're an absolute disgrace, and you have nothing to add value to. And I'm saying this just propagating things that actually don't make any sense. You're creating problems that don't need to be done. You have been gone and quiet for a particular period. We're now months to an election, and you're now coming out creating problems that you're going to create
So
hell.
do you
and
believe
making
that-
all these statements.
Do you believe that timing is specific?
Yes.
And if so, do you think that there's any complicity on the part of anyone on this end in Nigeria to enable this? Because why?
100%, and that's my issue. Because if you're a true revolutionary, you don't wait for elections. You are a revolutionary anytime, any given day of the week.
Absolutely.
So if you want people to believe what you're doing, then you are a revolutionary when you wake up, when you take your breakfast, when you have your afternoon lunch, and when you go to sleep. You're not a revolutionary when it's election convenient timing period. So there is, to your point, Folu, yes, there is complicity that people on this side need to take responsibility for. Okay, we cannot live in a society where such anarchy exists. We have to continue on sensibly. Let's get through these elections and let's see what we're doing next.
Thank you very
Thank
much. Ms. Ireti, let's talk a little bit more positive news for Feel Good Friday from New Telegraph. At least we believe it's positive. Greece are to train 2,500 amnesty beneficiaries in fishing, says Dokubo. So that's Professor Charles Dokubo has said that the Amnesty Office, in collaboration with 5 companies in Greece, have concluded plans to train 2,500 amnesty beneficiaries to fish, essentially. Your thoughts on the story?
I love it. Don't we just need more fish? I think we do. Perhaps the
I
price
like
will come
fish.
down. I tell you,
That would be
catfish
great.
these days, the price of catfish,
It's
I mean,
high.
it's too high. I
Yes,
mean,
it is.
there was this staple diet of us poor people that they spent all the money buying hot accents and no money to chop. Now, honestly, it's really exciting. And I like this. I like the fact that it's what I call real skills, life skills, skills that you can not only earn from, but you can survive
Yeah,
with,
yeah.
and instead of 100 fishing trawlers, etc., in
Yes,
Buru
yes,
to
they're
local
to build
government.
100 fishing trawlers.
Yes,
Important.
it's really exciting. Can we just sort of lend some of them to come to Lagos as well? I don't know.
Mr. Ireti, I mean, not to put it down on this, but
Don't.
also,
I'm excited about it.
okay,
go
let's
on.
ask that perhaps what could be good to see as well is maybe a collaboration in keeping the waters clean, because it's nice to have the trawlers, but we do know that contamination and pollution in the Niger Delta is a big issue, and that's a big concern.
Which of course we have to draw from what Waji said the other day when we're doing the story about those who are defecating in our waterways, etc. Of course, look, the cleanliness of our waterways is first and foremost the responsibility of the government. Number one. Number two, then, is the responsibility of the people, right? So both parties need to work together, and we both need to care, don't we?
Yes, we
if
do.
we don't care, and we have to think about it, government still comes from the people. We all need to eat, we all need to chop, we all need that water to survive. Look, when Waji was reading that Abuja story on
The earthquakes.
On the earthquakes. I keep having this wild imagination because I've got water not too far from me, and I'm thinking, oh gosh, we don't want a tsunami in Nigeria. They keep disturbing the waterways. Nobody seems to be, be respecting it. But it's a real fear.
And to be honest, it's a problem around the world.
It's a real
in 40
fear.
years, we're going to be facing environmental market, and I'll share that tweet with you. But that's a whole other issue.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you very
I'm
much.
just kind of joining how the respect of our waterways goes beyond just not defecating, goes beyond to our food, to our livelihoods, to our survival, to everything.
Thank you very much for that, Mr. Ireti. And on a final bit of news from the Punch newspaper, the CBN has fixed a 5 billion naira capital base for the payment service banks, the PSBs, are ready to go. Nwaji, your thoughts on this story, please?
Yes, very welcome news. It's important that we now have regulators for the PSBs in place, because it's very important if this is going to kick off. 5 billion might be a bit steep in terms of the capital base, but I understand why it's there. It's pretty much there to protect the end users at the end of the day, to make sure that if these individuals are capitalized, then it now protects against all kind of insurances of where your money is going, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a welcome move. It's something that you do see happening. I think from a business point of view, especially with the payment service banks, it lets them know exactly how much they need, that they need to raise from individual investors, or they need to raise however they're going to put that money together, so they can have a better understanding of how best to put their business plans together, their feasibility studies, and understand how best to recoup these costs. I think this particular article also talks about the sign-on fees and management fees that they also have to pay.
Yes,
What is
it talks about the guidelines for
guidelines for
licensing.
licensing? Yeah.
So you've got the 500,000 naira, the non-refundable application fee.
Exactly,
And you've
right.
got 2 million naira as a non-refundable licensing fee should your
Right.
application be accepted.
And
And then a 1 million naira change of name fee for people who are interested in knowing that.
exactly. And no, it's important to know that, because when you see these things and you understand the costs associated with it, you can now begin to say, okay, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. So it now puts in place the frameworks for actual serious individuals to come and play in this particular space. Why? Because it's all about financial inclusion, Folu. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to tap into the unbanked. When you now
Yes.
begin to look at it, a country of 180 million people, we have less than 40 million bank accounts. And that doesn't necessarily mean 40 million people, 40 million bank accounts, because I'm sure Valentine probably has 3. So when you now begin to use those statistics,
More
it
than
now
that, actually.
right, exactly. It now begins to let you know that there are less people than that who actually have actual bank accounts. So we need to financially include other individuals who can use your phones to transfer money, to actually receive payments. So these structures and systems from a regulatory point of view need to be put in place, so that way the companies can be governed properly, so the wider Nigerian space can enjoy financial inclusion, and we can stop having this ridiculous and obsessed perspective to cash.
So essentially what we're saying is, because really the payment service banks, it is beginning to seem as though the telcos are really going to get into this space.
Yes.
And we've obviously seen what they've done in making technology available and accessible to many Nigerians.
Yes.
And if they play in this space, I do believe they'll have the same kind of impact.
They will. So the beauty is why I thoroughly enjoy CBN coming in, because it's a banking service. So you need the banking regulator to come in, but you ride on the infrastructure and technology of the telecommunications companies. So if you were to use what happened in Kenya, where M-Pesa was riding along, the Kenyan central bank was not involved from a regulatory point of view, and it actually got them into trouble because they just took off and did whatever they wanted, especially with Safaricom, who was the main telco. So this combination here of CBN getting involved, but now allowing to ride on the backbone of the telecommunications service, is an actual perfect storm. And I think with these measures in place, we'll see some good things.
But critics of this have also said, and let me quote, because Busari wrote a nice article on this on Nairametrics, a bank that cannot loan money, is that one a bank?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So-
isn't that most of the banks in
Yeah, but that's-
Nigeria?
no, but that's loans.
Because
Let's
that's a
not-
strong
I
restriction that
understand,
they put
but
there on
loans-
the telcos, and
But
it's
loans,
a bit like, why?
but loans and payments are two different conversations.
Right.
Payments is about
But it's
access.
banking.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's too. A loan is about you tapping into money you don't have. Payment is I want to transfer and receive money that I do have.
It's-
One
yes,
is real,
yes,
one isn't
yes.
real. So I
Yes,
appreciate the
very
sentiments,
true.
but let's not
Very
mix it
true.
up.
But isn't
Okay,
it the
but
same? Isn't
let's-
that half of the banks in Nigeria, they don't give loans
And
anyway?
that's the
But that's
big
the
problem.
thing.
But that's
Yes.
not the conversation.
Is it
Okay,
not?
it's not.
Is the
You're,
con-
not-
you're
it's-
calling it a bank.
is the conduit? Guys, it's actually,
But it's okay.
it's-
Let's round up with the message.
Tony Okorocha sent in this one on WhatsApp. Tony says, point of information, Sanwo-Olu has chosen a man,
Yes,
Dorothy.
Fani Hamza.
as
Is
well.
it official? Because I don't want to deal with
We will
rumors.
confirm
No,
that on
I don't
Monday.
think it's
We will
He
official.
confirm that
adds,
on
he
Monday.
adds, he says, Okorocha is a crybaby. He should learn how to be gallant in losing. Okay. We have this other one from Dilly. Dilly says, Yeah.
All right, Shawa, Kote,
Kote,
Titus, all imported, and Nigeria is a coastal country. I hope this fishing
Exactly.
training helps kick off some local fishing industry.
Exactly.
Yes, commercial fishing is problematic. We can't really do that. So
Yeah.
the trawlers would be helpful, as long as, again, we keep our waterways clean.
Yes, and then this other one from Joe says, Mr. Ireti, did Buhari work for your votes? And I agree with Nwaji. Nnamdi Kanu just shakes tables when we're still deciding how to share the food on the table. Why must I be worried when I hear Nnamdi Kanu? We have enough problems, and Kanu should just join the fight against Fulani herdsmen that kill our people and restore unity within the country.
And
Right, thank you very much.
I have a
That's
quote.
Still more messages.
Waji has a
still-
quick quote.
Okay, Waji, what is your quote?
no, it's just that it is my birthday, and I just
Let's
wanted
finish
to
the
say
stories
something.
first.
finish
Let's
it.
finish
The stories
the
are
No,
finished.
we haven't finished the
She wants
comments.
to read the
Okay,
comments.
But we've still got more. Emmanuel Uche Chukwu says, spot on my corporate MC on Kanu's story. I'm just reaching out to hug you, but is it possible for here? And happy birthday, brother. See,
Hugs you.
it's
We
still
accept
coming.
it.
Let
We
me read
accept
these
it.
comments.
Manager too.
While D says,
It's our birthday.
While Kelechi says, Okorocha, who has disobeyed countless court order and judgment, is suddenly clamoring for rule of law.
Exactly.
Change is happening after all, he says.
Shagu Martin says, I quite agree with Miss Ireti. Jimmy Agbaje behaves more like an opportunist once an election beckons. More is expected of him.
Of him.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, guys, there's no love there. We still got more. Victor Ochuchi up on Twitter. Ochui up on our live stream. Sorry, says, didn't you read his tweets a few days back?
I read it.
When he gave reasons why he didn't speak on the challenges Lagos is facing under APC government. Check his handle. It would have been nice if you just told us so we could read them out.
Should I tell you what she said?
No, we don't have time, and everyone else can go find that. And J. Lu says, seriously, please relax. Let's just leave Agbaje for a minute and look at the parties. APC stronghold on Lagos makes it easy, in a sense, for their candidates. Did you know that Fashola, Bode, or Sanwo-Olu, do we know any of them before now?
No.
Well, Agbaje may have been quiet because he did not want to be seen as lobbying for a ticket. Politically short, but does that make the other guy better? I think that's a good note to end
Yes.
the messages on. Thank you very much. Now, Waji, please, your birthday
Well,
message.
just a message to everybody. It's a quote that I live by Thomas Babington Macaulay from the Lays of Rome that says, "Then out spake brave Horatius, the captain of the gate, to every man upon this earth death cometh soon or late. And how can man die better than facing fearful odds for the ashes of his fathers and the temples of his gods?"
Woohoo! And that's coming from Smooth FM.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Waji. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday,
the corporate
Waji.
MC. He's the corporate MC with a K. Thank you very much, Mr. Ireti Bakare-Yusuf. Please, you can continue your conversations with her. On
We're
her
by
Twitter
day.
handle.
I ain't got your time. We're
Sisio-
going to buy
Sisio
day.
Gay Lagos. And we appreciate you. Now, do remember that this is a platform for everyone to comment. So
Right.
it's better for you to comment on the stories so that we can read out your comments and create the balance so that everybody has a viewpoint. But keep listening because coming up next, it's time to talk sports inside the locker room at
And
8:15.
yeah.
Mm-mm.
And
Thank you very much.
We're gonna be talking exciting stories inside the locker room. Good morning.
What do you want me to say?
What? Happy birthday to Devo tomorrow.
That's not. No, you're gonna say it. No, not on air. If Devo was here, yes. What